by provision of the laws, consequential. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Fiji, the Honourable Speaker of the Parliament of Fiji, the Honourable Chief Justice of Fiji, Honourable Ministers, Honourable Members of Parliament, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the UN Special Rapporteur on contemporary forms of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia and related intolerance, Mr. Mumtara Rutere, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the 18th Attorney General's Conference. This year's conference makes a significant milestone as it coincides with the launch of the revised edition of the Laws of Fiji. The launch of the revised edition of the Laws of Fiji is a momentous occasion as the last revised edition was prepared in 1985, after a lapse of almost 31 years, and following two previous unsuccessful attempts in the 1990s and between 2001 and 2006 to consolidate the Laws of Fiji. The Fijian government, therefore, is pleased to announce the completion of the 2016 revised edition of the Laws of Fiji. Law revision, Your Excellency, is a process where written laws are updated and consolidated. This means that all written laws, including their subsequent amendments, are revised, consolidated, and published into volumes of law. The lack of consolidated laws for the last 31 years has resulted in time-consuming legal research, incorrect referencing of laws, and incorrect legal analysis. But the availability of the revised laws is not just for the benefit of the legal fraternity. It is for all Fijians. For the ordinary Fijian, reading and knowing the law is a daunting task if there is poor accessibility to the law, given the myriad of amendments that have been made to the laws over the past 3 decades. Now, with the publication of the revised edition, it is no longer necessary to track back 30 years worth of amending laws to determine the current applicable law. Accordingly, the publication of the revised edition of the Laws of Fiji aligns with the Fijian government's objective to provide equality and substantive justice for all Fijians by providing access to the law in the consolidated format for the first time in over 31 years. The promotion of the equal application of and treatment of all Fijians under the law has been a foremost priority, firstly for the Bainimarama government and under the Fiji First government. Unfortunately, the Honourable Prime Minister is unable to join us here this morning because of his travels and be part of this important occasion. But in his absence, we recognize his leadership, his political audacity and compassion for the vulnerable and commitment to modernize Fiji, which has ensured that Fiji's laws are for the benefit of and applicable to all Fijians, not just a select few. The revised edition of the Laws of Fiji creates transparency and is a step towards the promotion of the rule of law, in fact, embedding it. This will promote also the accountability of public officials and aid in the eradication of systemic corruption. It will also facilitate the ease of doing business in Fiji and boost investor confidence by providing clarity to both domestic and foreign investors of the status of the law in Fiji. By making these laws available, investors, both foreign and local investors and individual Fijians, will be able to read the laws themselves and will not necessarily have to go to perhaps expensive lawyers to find out the law. The revised edition of the Laws of Fiji has been prepared under the authority of the revised edition of the Laws Act 1971, and the consolidated laws contained in the revised edition are deemed to be part of the proper law of Fiji from today. It includes all 2016 Acts of Parliament and subsidiary legislation as at 1 December 2016. Subject to certain omitted laws that are no longer applied in Fiji today. It also includes, ladies and gentlemen, all regulations and even bylaws of all the different municipalities in Fiji. A number of amendments to the law have been made this year to make this publication possible. Firstly, the amendments in the February sitting of Parliament to the revised edition of the Laws of Fiji Act have modernized the revised edition and facilitated, for the first time in Fiji, the loose leaf format of the publication. This will allow for amendments to a law to be incorporated regularly without the need to reprint the entire law. Updates to the revised edition also form part of the law, and such updates will be able to be relied upon as the proper law of Fiji upon inclusion in the revised edition. The continuous application of updates will ensure that there is not another 30-year lapse before the laws of Fiji are revised, and these updates will be published on a quarterly basis. So every quarter, the laws in Fiji, through that edition that you will see, will be revised. Secondly, certain amendments to the laws are required to align the laws with prevailing circumstances in Fiji. Similar to other legal revision exercises in Fiji's past, through the law revision process, minor amendments were required to be made to the laws to bring them in line with each other and accommodate the current circumstances today. For example, many laws still refer to Her Majesty, in particular, property belonging to Her Majesty. As applicable, these references were amended to refer to the state, as Fiji has become a republic since 1987. These references were amended through the passing of Act 31 of 2016, which was the revised edition of the Laws Consequential Amendments Act 2016, and the revised edition of the Laws Consequential Amendments Regulations 2016. This revised edition required the incorporation and consolidation of over 30 years of laws and includes all laws that have a continuing relevance to Fiji. Additionally, errors from the 1985 revised edition have been corrected, and laws have been revised to use gender-neutral and anti-discriminatory terms and to ensure consistency with the Constitution of the Republic of Fiji. As part of the law revision process, an amendment to the Interpretation Act 1967 was made to allow for decrees and promulgations to be referred to as acts. This is similar to the amendment to the Interpretation Act made in 1976 that permitted the word ordinance to be replaced with act. Accordingly, all principal laws are now referred to as acts. In the last consolidation of laws in 1985, there were 14 volumes of the laws. This consolidation has 20 volumes with a total of 360 principal laws. There are 32,216 pages across the 20 volumes. The oldest law in the publication is the High Court Act of 1875. The newest principal law is the Shop Regulation of Hours Act 2016. For this initiative, we have partnered with global legal publisher LexisNexis from Australia to produce a publication that is modern and in line with international best practice. On behalf of the Fijian government, we sincerely thank the LexisNexis team in Australia for assisting Fiji with this publication and making it a reality. My Fenway Walwalk is here with us too, and I'd like to thank you very much for your contribution. The LexisNexis loose leaf format will facilitate the updating of the revised edition on a more frequent basis, as mentioned earlier, and for the first time, as I've mentioned, it includes all the subsidiary laws and regulations and bylaws. One of the features introduced by LexisNexis to this revised edition is the use of more historical notes and annotations. The inclusion of this information means that the origin of a particular section can be tracked back through time if necessary. While there were some annotations in the 1985 consolidation, these annotations were not consistently applied throughout all the laws. Through this process, we have gone back in time to track the amendments to the law and include annotations, otherwise known as historical notes, to provide background to the changes to the law. And it was through this backtracking process that errors in previous revised editions were also discovered. Every effort, ladies and gentlemen, has been made to correct errors in the law, which has required extensive research and examination of old laws from the National Archives, consultations with various organizations, and time-consuming cross-checking of previous revised editions. However, if there is something in this revised edition that you believe is incorrect, please do let the Commissioner and our office knows so that we can investigate and, if necessary, correct the error. And of course, now it is simply very, very easy to do so. With a loose leaf format, it will become a simple process of replacing the relevant page and will not require the entire law to be printed or reprinted. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me now much pleasure, and I'd like to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Fiji, the Honourable Speaker of the Parliament of Fiji, and the Honourable Chief Justice of Fiji to launch and unveil the 2016 revised edition of the Laws of Fiji. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, just continuing on from where I left, in order to promote the access to the law and its applications, and in respect to the revised edition of the Laws of Fiji, we will be giving those editions, of course, free of charge to His Excellency the President, to the Honourable Prime Minister, to the Honourable Chief Justice of the High Court, the Honourable Chief Justice of Fiji, I should say, the Honourable Speaker of Parliament, the Secretary-General to Parliament, one copy each to the government and opposition political party officers in Parliament, the Commander of the Republic of Fiji Military Forces, the Commissioner of Police, the Commissioner of Correction Services, the National Archives of Fiji, the three national tertiary institutions, being the Fiji National University, University of the South Pacific, and the University of Fiji. And we are currently looking at also putting copies with public libraries throughout Fiji, whichever libraries have the capacity to do so. For those of the rest of you, as advertised in the Fiji Sun on Wednesday, copies of the revised edition may be ordered during the conference. The standard price for a complete 20-volume set of the Laws of Fiji, inclusive of 1 year of updates, free of charge, is $8,500 plus VAT, Fijian dollars. For copies ordered at the conference, a special introductory price of $7,500 plus VAT will be applied. We see accountants in the room, this does not apply to you. The revised edition of the Laws of Fiji, I'm joking only, the revised edition of the Laws of Fiji is a result of the perseverance and commitment of a team of over 40 people at the Office of the Attorney-General over the past 18 months. The team included legal practitioners, law librarians, proofreaders, interns, and support staff, and we thank them for their enduring dedication to this publication. The team has worked extremely long hours, weekends and public holidays, and without them, this publication would not have been possible. And I've seen them actually, when they had deadlines to meet, some of them worked straight through 48 hours. It is a historic achievement, and I'd like to publicly acknowledge them with your permission, Your Excellency, and in fact call them to the front, and thank all of those who worked on this project. I would like to firstly call the Solicitor General, Sarvada Sharma, and we thank him for his leadership and his expertise. The work ethic, dedication, and commitment of the core law revision team, whose names I'll call out, is exemplary, and they're commended for their perseverance and indefatigability. The team which deserves our gratitude for working extremely punishing hours and sacrificing weekends and public holidays in the preparation of this revised edition. These include, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Tracy Wong, who is also the Deputy Solicitor General and the Commissioner of the revised edition of the Laws of Fiji, Leanne Borasi is our Deputy Chief Legal Draftsperson. Leanne, please. Tupo Baravilala, Robin Ann Money, Glennis Andrews, Ofa Solimalangi, David Solvalu, Florence Takinana, and Valerie Narayan. These are the legal practitioners, and they were very ably assisted by two other non-legal practitioners who are Melini Vuniwai and Deepak Singh. These people, ladies and gentlemen, are the core group of people who work those extremely long hours. They were also, ladies and gentlemen, very ably assisted by other legal practitioners from the Attorney General's office, and they are Pritika Prasad, Kamini Naidu, Sangeeta Chand, Mary Lee, Josepha Mainivolo, Timaima Wakadewakambuka, John Pickering, Sofina Ali, Seema Chand, Romanupran Jivan, Shreta Sharma, Mona Lisa Faktafon, John Sharani, Suliana Tauke, Yambaki Vasandrao, Ria Chand, Elvin Prakash, Rajendra Singh, Bharti Kaur, Priya Lata, Vishal Chauhan, Shayal Kapoor, and Lenyana Raikatalau. These, ladies and gentlemen, are the core people. As you can see, we have a high proportion of women in our chambers, and I can tell you they've all got their own merit. Ladies and gentlemen, just very quickly, there are some corporate staff who I'd also like to acknowledge. Rhoda Bana, Rakesh Bhagwan, Taivesi Bolandrao, Prashant Chandra, Matayasi Daembe, Ronil Deo, Andise Nimili Faha, Chris Kil Kumar, Nimitesh Kumar, Shistri Maharaj, Sarita Prasad, Vimal Ram, Prakash Rao, Selvin Sharma, Avishek Singh, Avnil Singh, Ronald Singh, Safanaya Sugnevalu, and Karalini Unge. This is the entire team, ladies and gentlemen. From the AG's chambers. I'd also very quickly like to, ladies and gentlemen, acknowledge and thank very sincerely the National Archives of Fiji and the other libraries for providing materials to assist during the law revision process, in particular the staff at the National Archives, and the director, Mr. Opeta Alefau, the principal archivist, Mr. Colin Yambaki, and librarian, Ms. Losena Tundro. These three people have assisted us. Please let's put our hands together for them. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, the Attorney General's Conference has become renowned for discussing, promoting, and elucidating issues on the cutting edge of the law, informative topics, and also subject areas of the law that may actually need to have law, that there are laws currently not in place, or changes that are taking place in our society, whether it's the introduction of new technology. And we have always at the Attorney General's, at least in the past 4 or 5 years, tried to address those issues and have open discussions regarding them. This year's conference is no exception. The topics for this year's conference cover a very broad spectrum of legal issues, including, of course, the rule of law, directors' duties, racism, intolerance, alternative dispute resolution, first-hour procedures, and electronic transactions. If I could very briefly touch upon them, ladies and gentlemen. The first session we have is a LexisNexis session where my friend will be talking about it, taking you actually through the revised laws of Fiji and how to actually use it. Many of you would have never used such a edition of laws. Many of you would need to also know how to navigate through the actual laws itself, and she'll take you in detail together with the Commissioner of the Laws of Fiji. The second topic, of course, the directors' do's and don'ts. We are very fortunate to have two representatives, one from Squire Patton Boggs, which is an international law firm. They're doing some work in Fiji, and Ernst & Young. Both of the speakers are from Australia, and they're here to give us some insight into directors' duties. In particular now, that the laws of Fiji pertaining to Companies Act or company laws have actually been changed. A lot of it is predicated upon the practices and the law in Australia and in New Zealand. And it is very beneficial to have these speakers to come and speak with us. We also have a local director who practices as a director both in Fiji and in Australia, to speak to us about it. It is very critical for us also, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure, in particular given the criminal culpability that is now set in the law, and also the fact that government is always now very keenly and earnestly looking for capable people to sit on boards, on the respective boards that we have, state-owned enterprises, statutory boards, and I think it is very beneficial to have people to actually have that knowledge to be able to sit on those boards. And we, of course, are very open-minded about including the best people for the right positions. The third topic, of course, is black, white, or purple. Does it matter? Does it really matter? And again, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the UN Special Rapporteur on racism and other forms of related intolerance. Ladies and gentlemen, as a government, we have made a decision that every year we will be getting a UN Special Rapporteur on the different areas of human rights into Fiji. So last year we had the UN Rapporteur who actually spoke at this conference on the right to education. This year we have the UN Rapporteur on racism and other forms of discrimination. And we'll hear from him also, his experience in other countries. And of course, we have a number of other speakers, including our ambassador, who is based in Geneva. Fiji, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, is now bidding for a position on the UN Human Rights Council, in which we hope to be able to get elected to in 2017. We all look forward to your support. It will be for the first time, if we do get across the line, that a Pacific Island country will be able to be represented on the Human Rights Council. It is in the same way that for the first time, we have a Pacific Island country assuming the presidency of COP23. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have, of course, the next session, which is Keep It Out of the Courtroom. This is to do with alternative dispute resolution. We have Representative João Ribeiro from UNCITRAL is here, together with Jayantha Fernando, to talk about the various forms of alternative dispute resolution, and in particular under the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law provisions. We also have senior representatives from the ADB. Fiji, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is engaged in a large number of infrastructure projects. Many other Pacific Island countries are doing so similarly. There are many contracts that are being drafted, and we believe there's an opportunity for Fiji to become a mini Singapore in that respect. Those of you who do practice commercial law would know that for alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, many countries, many parties now actually refer to Singapore as the jurisdiction for dispute resolution, alternative dispute resolution, or mediation purposes. The Honourable Chief Justice, together with the Chief Registrar, have also set up a small mediation centre, and I think this is the first step towards developing that capacity within our country, within our practitioners, and also then to be able to reach out to the other Pacific Island countries and other countries in the region, because we have a very cost-effective base, and we can be able to then reach out to those countries to have Fiji referred to as a jurisdiction, at least for the purposes of alternative dispute resolution and mediation. So I think it's beneficial to a lot of the practitioners who will be here. The other topic is, of course, confessions of an accused. We'd like to very much thank the British government for the wonderful assistance they're currently providing, together with the European Union, in respect of what we call the first hour procedures. This, of course, pertains to the rights of accused persons. The British government is helping us to work and working together with the British police force and together with the Fijian police force to look at how we deal, what are the procedures pertaining to when a person gets arrested or detained, and what are the procedures pertaining to that, and how we deal with that. Of course, if we get the system right, it not only preserves the rights of accused persons, but it also helps with the judicial system too. It makes it a lot more efficient. We don't get voir dires, application being made, etc. So it creates the efficiency that is essential, and we are very grateful for that. Of course, there has been a lot of publicity. If one were to read Fiji Times, you would think that everybody's tortured every day on a daily basis. We have, of course, a report which we have responded to by Amnesty International, that it was very flawed. It only referred to matters that related to past events. We are not saying it did not happen, but what we are saying is we need to move forward. Fiji has ratified the UNCAT, United Nations Convention Against Torture. We recently had a convention here, or workshop in this very room, that was organized under the auspices of the UN, and to use Fiji as a role model to see what processes and what procedures are to be followed if countries in the Pacific region wanted to ratify the UNCAT. So we look forward to this session. Once again, I'd like to thank the British government for that assistance, and we also have representatives from the Fiji Police Force. Lastly, digital commerce, are we ready? As the Honourable Chief Justice did mention about e-filing, about being able to pay your fines electronically, there's of course a whole world of electronics out there, a whole world of digital commerce that's out there. We need to look at the pros and cons of it. We'll obviously need to look at the commercial basis of it. We have Tessa Price from ANZ, who is here to represent the private sector. We also give her input into it. We have the Governor of the Reserve Bank of Fiji. We have the UNCITRAL members. It's a very interesting area also of law, also in terms of evidence. If you look at it, if there are disputes pertaining to that. So I urge you to also come to these sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, the speakers that we have, of course, in this conference, both have legal backgrounds and non-legal backgrounds that bring a particular level of expertise. And sometimes, of course, we can see that some non-lawyers also know a lot more than other lawyers in respect of the specificities pertaining to the respective areas of law and from a practical perspective. I encourage all those participants who have registered to please attend. Those of you who have not registered, if you've now suddenly been enticed, please pay your registration fees and do also attend. It's a very nominal sum for the knowledge that you'll be able to gain. Ladies and gentlemen, that's an overview of the discussions that will take place in the next few days. I'd like to once again thank His Excellency the President for taking the time and the effort to be here with us today. And also like to thank the Speaker, Madam Speaker of Parliament of Fiji to be here. Thank you very much for being here. The Honourable Chief Justice too. They represent, of course, the three arms of the state, if you like. And we'd like to thank them very much for your presence. I'd also like to thank all those invited guests who came, especially from different parts of Fiji, just for the launch of this. Thank you very much. We appreciate your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a wonderful opportunity now. Fiji is in a very, very good space. There are many opportunities that have arisen. There are many initiatives that have been undertaken. If we all work together, if we all focus on modernizing Fiji, getting our laws right, getting more transparency, holding people, public officials a lot more accountable, and be able to focus on socio-economic development as provided for in the Constitution, I think we have a wonderful future ahead of us. So thank you very much once again, and I wish you all a very good morning. Just some housekeeping matters. After here, we'll immediately go down for a photo shoot, and then we'll have morning tea, and I wish you all a very good morning. Vinaka, thank you very much.